so unsuitable for my daughter. My child comes from a whole line of revolutionaries. And you look so lost. What are you gonna do about this baby?
You know what freedom is?
What?
No fear. Go.
Fucking World War III out there!
Not one thing, it's another. Find that to be true.
I need you, brother. Sensei, Sensei, please.
Courage, Bob. Courage.
That's it. Courage. Yeah. Thank you. Hey, thank you, Sensei. Thank you, Sensei. Thank you. God damn it! Viva la revolution!
All right, so let us talk about what is, for me, one of the most highly anticipated films of the year, One Battle After Another. This is produced, written, and directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, right? And this quick preamble, right? And then, Ricardo, you could get into the synopsis and what you thought about the show, right? So, for me, the last time that I saw a PTA film, or I should say the first time I saw a PTA film in theaters was 2017's Phantom Thread. I think it's either 2017 or 2016, right? I can't remember. But
17, I think, yeah.
Right, 17, yeah. I was fortunate to see that because that was on the last day that it screened in, Caribbean cinemas. And that, for me, is one of the best films that I've seen in the past decade. I absolutely love that.
Yeah,
it fits within the whole, this is from a guy who loves movies.
Yeah, hot take. It is my personal favorite of the PTA movies.
I'm gonna get to that. I'm gonna get to his filmography. You to talk about this movie here, One Battle After Another. You have to talk about his filmography, right? But yeah, this was one of my favorite films of the past decade. This to me was. It reminded me of like what the Joel Coen did with the tragedy of Macbeth, right? Where it felt like he was trying to make a movie that felt like, if he saw this on VHS or he saw this on TCM, he would be like, and he would show his friend like, look, this movie is great. You need to watch this, and I want to make a film like that. So it felt like PTA was making a classic movie. It felt like I was watching something out of the 40s or 50s, right? And he nailed that perfectly, in my opinion, right? And it still features, if I'm not mistaken, the current last at the time I was recording this, the last performance from Daniel Day-Lewis, right? I know his son put out a debut feature, and again, a lot of good reviews. I had to find out if he dad starring in it. I had to look it up, right? But anyway,
I saw the news, but I kind of didn't care. I was like, when I hear he saw this, like,
no, I mean, I want him to grow, but like, I don't know these sons, so it's like, alright, if
I don't know.
you see the show's trash, it's like, alright. Yeah, like I never see him in anything either. So
exactly.
Did he act? I don't know. Like is he for example, is he like a Sofia Coppola where I see she act and then she put out a movie like, oh yeah, you direct better than you act, right? Whatever. But yeah, but when it comes to PT, right? When it comes to Paul Thomas Anderson, right? I would admit, right? Even though I call myself a film nerd, right? There are still films in his filmography that I haven't watched, and I'm not sure why, but because I knew when these movies were out, it's just maybe because they weren't marketed properly or they weren't screened theatrically down here in Trinidad. But there wasn't, like, I don't know, like there just wasn't that big of a push in terms of his films. I just had to hear through the grapevine that, PT is such a great filmmaker. And yeah, when I saw some of his works, it's like, yeah, you're absolutely right? But yeah, for the life of me, I don't think Boogie Nights ever showing theatrically here. I don't think There Will Be Blood show theatrically here. I remember seeing both films in either on cable or on digital, right? Yeah, I don't think I don't think I've seen I don't think any PTA film have shown down here with the exception of something like Punch Drunk Love or Licorice Pizza. It's Licorice Pizza, right? Doesn't even fit, right? Yeah. But like I would throw for example, like many people, even after when this movie came out, people are saying like Boogie Nights and Magnolia, are still like his crowning achievements. I saw Boogie Nights a couple times. I saw it once and I thought it was great, right? But I still have not seen Magnolia. I know it's one of the best films of 1999. I still haven't seen it, right? But the point is, as a wrap up here, right? there are still films in his catalog that I need to see. And after I saw this movie, I'm like, listen, I'm not gonna wait 7 more years or whatever until PTA puts out another film, but I am going to sit down and I'm going to watch his works. Because I don't think, like, for example, I don't think Inherent Vice showed theatrically here. I don't think The Master showed theatrically here. I just found out about these shows because, of course, you see them on social media. You see the ads and stuff.
Where did I see The Master, though? I'm trying to think. I think The Master show here, because it's one of those,
Okay.
the typical bullshit thing of it just show for a week.
Yeah, because it's too artsy, man.
I think so. I think it's
which I hate. It's listen. Whether people come to see it or not doesn't matter, Dred. The name should sell it. The director should sell it. If Spielberg wake up one day and decide to do some artsy film, you're telling me you're not gonna show that? It's like, dog, it's fucking Spielberg, right? Like, I'll try another example, right? Spike Lee, Highest to Lewis, still haven't been shown theatrically, but the excuse will be like, well, it's showing on Apple Plus, Apple TV, so we don't need to show it, whatever. But Spike Lee, Jerry,
is it normal? Is it normal? Is it normal tickets and money? I can't tell the ticket. Look at that ticket person running the place. I don't really care.
Yeah. That's right. So the point is, unfortunately, and I feel bad for saying this, there's still films that I have not seen, and there's films that I need to recap from him, right? So I can't say that Magnolia is the best film that I've seen from him. For me right now, it's Phantom Thread. I have a feeling that if I rewatch There Will Be Blood, I saw that film once, loved it, thought it was one of the best things ever, but I haven't seen that since the 2000s. I feel like if I watch There Will Be Blood right now, I would say that's the best. But then if I watch Magnolia for the first time, I'll be like, no, that's the best. So if I rewatch Boogie Nights, I would say that's the best, right? Or if I rewatch Master and so on and so forth, right? So there's a lot that I need to cover with this man's work, but so help me God, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna watch all of his works, and I'm hoping that this movie comes out on digital so I can rewatch it, or if not, then I'll try to see it again theatrically, and then I could come at the end of the year and say, yep, this movie, as in one battle after another, is his best work, or it's not as great as X, Y, or Z, and I'll stop there. So yeah, Ricardo, before you jump into what this movie is about, you could touch briefly on your history with his work and what you think is the best film he's put out and what.
Yeah. He's one of those directors who get kind of the name from just kind of just word of mouth in the early days, and then you pick up on them, and then you think. And for me, the first movie I got into was Boogie Nights. So that's the first one. I was only thinking about it because of it had this really great crane shot, one take kind of thing they did in the beginning. Stuff like that. Right? And it becomes like, oh, this is a really good movie and real dark and interesting. And it does this conceit really well. And then he's somebody where I really enjoy this stuff is with the Master because of the subject matter. I'm like, all right, this is a really interesting subject matter. And he builds from there for me as a thing. But There Will Be Blood, I love that movie. He's one of those guys who I'm not a super fan, but like I appreciate him as a director. And I have no problem calling him one of the workable greatest. He's one of those guys who, I can't really say his movies like his big blockbusters or anything like that, but they do enough, and they come in the time where it works. And he's a film bro director. Like, I admit that, right? A little bit. But he works, and I really like his just his style, technique. He's always nailed it. As I said, my personal favorite of his is Phantom Thread. In terms of just where the story was, how engaging it was, and where it was going with it. And he's a filmmaker that I like, and I like a lot. Then we're going to get into, the more interesting aspect of this, which will just surprise more people not talking about, because they're referencing him all the time with respect to the story, but remember, the story is not his. It's a novel, a film version of a novelization, which is from Thomas Pynchon. And Pynchon is the writer who I love referencing with respect to that. So I have to reference Pynchon before I get into this, right? So Thomas Pynchon is a writer that I never got into. I only read one of his earlier books back in the days, a book called Gravity's Rainbow, which I remember liking a lot, like really liking, and like, oh, this is an interesting thing. And then Paul Thomas Anderson did a Pynchon story before, which is Inherent Vice. I didn't read Inherent Vice I only read Inherent Vice because of the Anderson movie, and I thought the Anderson movie felt like a first draft kind of cut, like that's what it felt like. So I don't think it works out all that well, but I still like it for what it is. Like it works as a conceit, and I decided to read the book after, and then say, okay, I see what the differences with the book and the story is. I like this a lot. it mostly works as it is. But yeah, I felt somebody so it said that yeah, it felt like a first draft cut, and it probably needed a better cut to work out. And yeah, that is it. It's not bad or anything like that, but like it's like yeah, it need a thing. It need a better cut, right? That is it. And then trying to get into why Pynchon as a writer works and where Pynchon works as a director. I keep saying director, sorry. Where Paul Thomas Anderson works as a director, translating his material. Um, and make that work. And what Pynchon does, and this is where we're gonna get into like the big like sticking points about this movie. Pynchon, how to describe this guy, boy? He does the whole, for lack of a better word, is a kind of anti-satire. Like, so what he'll do is that he'll take a classical kind of typical story and then put somebody who's like a total schlub in it. Not a necessarily a goofball or fool or anything like that, but just a schlub. And that's what we get. So we got out Inherent Vice, where it's like a gumshoe story, and then you have basically the dude being a detective. Oh god, what's his boy name? Joe Connor.
Joaquin Phoenix. Yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix character is effectively is that, right? He's a drug addict, well, not drug addict, he used drugs, and now you had to figure out the story, and you play it from that normal perspective, and that's such an interesting subversion of classical like narrative tropes, right? Because usually when we think of a story, is you dump a normal person in an extraordinary circumstance, and then they rise to the occasion. And where the fantasy goes into is the hyper competence of your protagonist, right? Your protagonist could always work out, or when things work out, it's usually miraculous. And the story is a nice, neat story. Like exactly what he does. He doesn't do that. He says, all right, what if you put an actual normal person in the situation, and they have doubts and fears, and they're gonna fuck up in very, very relatable ways. And that's where Pynchon nails it. And just shout out to a author I really like, a guy called Jason Pragin, I think, or Pragin. He has a book right now that's very Pynchon-esque in his writing, and that's how I feel about it. So that's my amateur like literary analysis of Pynchon, right? That's how I think about this guy, right? So in this movie now, when I was watching it now and seeing where it was going, especially Leo's character, Leo is effectively the lead, but he's not the main character, I would argue. Where they do with it, and then when this hits like a couple of big narrative beats, I think this really comes together well for me. Like that's why I really like this movie. Right, so we're gonna say what it's about and then get into there. Right, so what is this leftist kind of radical group back in the past called the Friend 75, and a certain thing happens involving Teyana Taylor. Teyana Taylor is really good in this, even though we get a little bit of her. But it's very reminiscent of 1001, a couple of years back, which I love.
Yes, I loved it too. I was trying to remember when she was on screen, right? While I was watching her on screen, if she got nominated, if she got an Oscar nom for that film, right?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
But I am hoping that she gets an Oscar nom for this too. Yeah, because she just nails that tough as nails, but like she
right.
has the very attractive exterior, right? But she just has that hardened interior about her. I just always love how she always expressed that, especially in that film 1001. Yeah.
Right. She have a great look and great screen presence. She was always great. I mean, since I think it's who discovered her for us. I think it's Kanye West, right?
Yeah. For that one music video that she was in, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, but she always had a great look. She always had a thing. But then when they do it in the narrative, it works. Like, because she's this figure and playing with the conceited figure. And then they drop the shoe on the character, and she does like, I don't want to spoil what it is, but it's great.
Yes.
When they drop two shoes with the character, they drop two shoes if you think about it.
Oh yeah.
She does one thing and she does a second thing, and that's like the main impetus of the storyline. And then we frame Leo and the daughter, and time passes, let us say that things don't work out particularly well. And, we have the older version of the daughter some years past. I think it was roughly 15 years past, right? And
16,
the daughter now,
16 roughly.
16,
yeah,
right,
she's 16 in film. Yeah.
Right, the daughter is she'll come of age, and now the story frames her back to come back to solve dealing with the main antagonist, Lockjaw, played by Sean Penn, who he probably gonna get nomination at least for this.
Hells yes, boy.
Really fucking good at this. You get to think of this, I watching this movie, I watching this bad face, I'm like, what the fuck is that, boy? And it's like, and then it's clicking like, wait, I Sean Penn, wow. It's like, that catch, man.
It did. I'll tell you when I found out it was him. When he started talking to Teyana at the beginning, I was like, wait, that's you? Like your
No, no, yeah,
character
no, I watch it.
like it don't even look like him. Like I don't know if it's makeup
Don't look at
or if
him
it's
at
like
all.
he just get
Yeah, yeah.
older. But like the
Right,
man,
no,
it took a while for me to
no,
realize it was him.
it's clearly makeup. It's like it's clearly makeup, right?
Right,
Because,
okay.
But the way on the frame, but the haircut and well, why
Yes.
haircut is the way it is, and so on and so forth. And no, but what catch me with it is just I watching the face, but because it's shaded and dark, and I think like who's this man? But watching the face, right? You know, it remind me of the first time that catch me is when this fella was playing Obadiah Stane in Iron Man.
Josh. I would say Josh Brolin. Yes, Josh Brolin. Yeah.
No, not Josh Brolin. Oh gosh, the dude. Oh god, so never mind. Yeah.
But yeah, I know you're talking about Jeff Bridges. Jeff Bridges, right?
Jeff
Yeah.
Bridges. Right. So it just like wow, this ingratiating thing I wasn't looking for him there, so you catch me. But yeah, they what they do with it is really good stuff in terms of like just the idea of they take a serious conceit and then frame Leo's character as just kind of the schlub, and then they frame it from that perspective, and then we get Regina Hall, who's great in this. You know,
we don't get much of her, unfortunately, though. But when she is there, she shines. Right. I like that, you know, because you know when it comes to her, we always associate her with comedies. You know, she's from Scary Movie and Malibu's Most Wanted. But that was like back in the 2000s, though. Like, I mean, just
I get the feeling that they wanted Regina King for this, right?
Yeah. And she done win an Oscar already, so you know, yeah.
Yeah. So she know, making that conceit as it is, and they set up a conceit, and when they think about it, is that again, I don't want to spoil what it is, but her two biological parents, that's all I'll say, it's kind of trash, and so is this character have to transcend that given the circumstances of the scenario, and that is why the story works. That's the impetus.
Right.
I can imagine some people not liking like the framing of certain people, especially like some black women or some people in the storyline in terms of where they go with it and the narrative. I kind of understand where they're coming from. Yeah. But to me, that is the story. That's the conceit of the story. And, you know, I could imagine some people not feeling it in that way. I see a couple people don't complaining online about this, that, and the other. But I think for the most part, it works given the nature of the storyline and what it is to transcend the storyline. Especially her, because I forget the actress's name, but I thought she was great. Like she embodies the conceit really, really well.
Oh well, actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think this is her debut like feature film appearance, right? Her name is Chase Infiniti, which is an awesome name, and if that's her real name, then word. That's all I had to say.
I don't know right. I think she was in something before, but I don't know if it's a movie.
Okay,
but if I remember, she was
I'll
something
look
before.
it up.
So she was looking kind of familiar, right? Yeah. But I thought she was great as a protagonist, where they frame it, where it's going with it, and then the film is just really well made. It has like two great car chases in this.
Yes, boy, especially the final one, and all you'll see with us spoiling anything, right? The emphasis on roads, boy. I watching this like
right.
I feel so sorry for people who gonna watch this on their laptops, you know. That shot alone with the undulating roadway, I was like, that worth my money. I watched this in Caribbean cinemas. I didn't go IMAX to see it. I was like, nah, this shot right here is worth my money. Me care. Or they might find it artsy, but nah, this is worth my money, John. Me care.
And it was by me. It looked good. But it had me like working. It was the what I like about it. They do a couple like clever things, like the big call sign stuff, because it's a reference to Jill Scott Heron. It's like okay, that kind of clever and simple. But again, because of Pynchon's writing. And how it's framed. And again, I haven't read the book itself. I haven't read this book itself because I only read two Pynchon novels. I only read this and I only read Gravity's Rainbow and Inherent Vice. But I'll sit down and read this when I find time to see what the differences are. I thought this was great in terms of subverting the material, because when you think about it, it's kind of like Barry. You know, like how Barry is. Barry does play with that whole anti-dramedy, inverted satire kind of concept, where it's a kind of a jokey person or somebody you know as a jokey person, but you put them in a serious situation and you put them as a serious person, but you have to deal with a serious thing in a serious way. And that's where Leo character really comes in. And Leo is great in this too. I think he's slightly outacted, by somebody else. Two people, I'll say. He's slightly outacted by Penn. Mm-hmm. And well, then when somebody, of course, you have to have a standard on business, no nonsense, motherfucker. Benicio del Toro is great.
Yes, he is, boy. He was great though. What was this with us pointing though? There's a final shot of him. The last time they see him in that movie, And
Right.
it's just him standing up. That's all I see with us pointing. He's standing. I watched. I was like, dog, like you should get
Yeah.
Oscar nom too. Like you
You should
crush it,
totally
fam.
get a spin-off.
You
He should totally
crushing
get a
it,
spin-off.
boy. What?
Yeah, he should totally get a spin-off. Like, he can make a whole movie off a he character. Like just a
I
whole spin-off
know,
of
right?
it.
Yes,
You see
yes.
you see how they do it with Sicario? How they could get a spin-off with he? And they kind of do that Sicario videos kind of shit. It is that. Like, is just this Manuel Cook and they just make it work. And yeah, like I really love this movie. Like I don't think it's how I'll describe this. This is what Inherent Vice should have been if Inherent Vice was like complete. This is a complete work of a book. Right? Is a second is Paul Thomas Anderson doing a second Pynchon novel and getting it right this time. Because as I said, I don't think Inherent Vice feels finished. Like I don't know what happened, but it just didn't feel finished. It felt like it doesn't come together as well as it could have. Even though I think the movie is solid, all things considered, right? But this is where it gets. This is what the final product is. And yeah, so they make it work for what it is. And yeah, this comes together so well for me. Like I could see people complaining about like the framing of certain characters and certain people. The whole Jungle Pussy thing just come across as kind of cringe. But I get it. Like I get what they're trying to go for in terms of like the performances.
Yeah, you know, speaking about that character, and it's a good thing I bring it up because I forgot to do my research, right? There's a rapper by the name of Jungle Pussy, you know, and I was wondering if it was actually her. If it is her, it's like, well, that makes sense though. Like, yeah, because that name is meant to be like, you know, shock. You know, it's meant to like grab your attention quickly now. So if it is her, well, I mean, well, would right? So
I think it is her. So, but the thing is, here's the thing: one of the problems with when you're doing like satire and subversion and these kind of things that you're not sure if the person just doing it at your expense or if you're doing it for real. That's difficult to like pass out. And I can imagine people saying, well, you're trying to make a joke, but now you're really just doing it at our expense. And I get that. I can totally understand that. But to me, it mostly works. This is like in the same framing as like, say, Tropic Thunder or something like that. Like nobody actually mad at Robert Downey Jr. for being in blackface. Because he's making a joke about blackface and a commentary about blackface. Like it's that, right? So they could go back and forth about that, and I could understand if somebody could be like had a problem with it in that sense. But I didn't have a problem with it. It totally works as the story, and especially with centering the Chase Infiniti character as the star, and then all the little side structure of the storyline, the idea of it and what it is. And I'll admit, and I kind of selling out myself a little bit, but I kind of writing a story similar to this right now. So that's why, like, oh yeah, they kind of like this is the thing, this is the way you do. Something like that, right?
I'm afraid to ask, right? Is this set in Trinidad? Is it?
A little bit of it, part of it.
Oh, okay.
One small part of it. It starts in Trinidad because there's one inciting incident in Trinidad, but that's about it.
All right.
It's not a big deal.
All right, I got you. Okay.
But yeah, I dug this. I thought this was really excellent. Right now, hot take, right now, it is probably my favorite movie of the year.
It's
right now.
mine too.
This Long Walk and Sinners is in my tree. Right now, floating in the top three at the top. Dune probably gonna do something. Maybe I don't know when Dune coming out this year, right?
No. We're talking about Doom Messiah. No, we ain't getting that till next year, I think.
Oh, that next year. Okay,
Remember, Villeneuve and them had to take the time, you know. They had to,
right.
let that cook.
What coming out big this year that I think gonna be good? I can't remember. Something else. Whatever.
Okay, ship a joke. Avatar. Avatar 3.
Pick again. No, yeah, all right. So that's the three. I think right now that's the three that are going to be in the running for the top right now. And yeah, right now this is my favorite. Mostly because how well made it is. Again, the messaging and the framing, that is a different argument. That is a political argument. And you can say it framed poorly or not. And I'm not here for that. I don't have your political opinion or whatever it is, right? So I don't know. Like somebody with a different political opinion got to get mad at this and how the framing. I can imagine. And I don't know, I'm just speculating, but I could imagine some people getting mad because especially of where they go with a certain character, especially in one of the characters, like, hey, I could see somebody hating on this. And the timing of it is kind of off too. Like, oh, Asata Shakur just dead. So, like I can imagine somebody complaining about that. There's all of that. And all of that bullshit is coming to a movie. So is that. But that's not the fault of the film. I think it works. That's how I feel about it. Yeah. Rating, 9 out of 10, close to 10, almost a perfect score. This was really, really excellent because of how well together everything comes together. How Sean Penn dies is great. Like it's like, oh, holy shit, that's
okay. So we kind of sell what happens, but it's how it happens, folks. How it happens that make you like, wow.
I say how it happens. Like the bad guy dies, whatever.
Of
like
course,
that's
yeah, exactly.
But And how he dies, it's like, oh, you serious? You're like real casual boy.
Boy.
But it, like everything about this just comes together so well for me as a narrative and script. Genuinely engaging, really good, interesting, intense action. And yes, just solid, smart storytelling. I haven't read the book, so I don't know. But like to me, just a engrossing, engaging story as for what he was trying to do and say and the reveal. And yeah, the last the last climax of the film when a certain character writes a certain letter to a certain character. It's like, oh right, that's an interesting like thing. You understand where the character coming from, and it's an interesting, complex position, which I can imagine people being mad at given who the character is and what they're trying to go for. But to me, most of it works, and I was loving most of this. 9 out of 10, really, really excellent stuff.
Right. So how am I gonna top what it is you said there, right? So let me attempt to do so, right? Okay, so for me, right, as you mentioned, Asata Shakur, right, who passed away last Friday at the time of us recording this, right? I'm now wondering if Warner Brothers is gonna try to sneak in, in memory of Asata Shakur
Nah,
at the very end.
they gotta
Of
do
the- I know. It's just if they could somehow squeeze it in, I don't know, whatever. Yeah. For me though, I never thought I'd see the day where PTA does slightly politically charged, action,
Right.
thriller, family drama. I never saw this coming a mile away, right? So I'm not wondering if he's gonna do sci-fi or something like that or fantasy going forward. Who knows, right? But yeah, one thing I love about this show though is how the trailer, at least I saw the first trailer, kind of gives you just like a scant idea of what the story is about, right? Because no lie,
Right.
when the movie began and it just kept flowing, I was like, I didn't know all this was gonna happen. I didn't know he was gonna go in all these directions. I didn't know Sean Penn was this character. I just know that he was in the film. I didn't know he was that character and he was that much of a creep. I didn't know he was that much of a motherfucker. I didn't know that, right? But here we are, right? And it just goes. It just is so unconventional in the way how the narrative moves, right? And yet there's a logic to everything that takes place, right? So I love the twists and turns that this movie took, right? For one thing, I love that they were drawing from older films, right? Especially where certain set pieces take place, right? So case in point, the whole Jungle Pussy thing takes place during a bank robbery, right? So I like that they are channeling Set It Off from 1996. So yes, the whole moment with she like, you know what, my name is so, and just showing off like, yes, is a woman Robin Yaw, right? I am doing this, bitch. That's what it is. That's pure Set It Off energy that they're going with, right? I think a character even brings up Set It Off, like, hey, this is like, isn't this like Set It Off, blah, blah, like that, right? So I like that they do that, right?
Okay.
I also like the whole sort of lovers on the run kind of shtick that PTA pulls from. So like with the relationship, the early relationship, I should say, between Leonardo DiCaprio and Teyana Taylor's characters, that's straight up like Bonnie and Clyde. That's natural born killers, right? Where they're doing something that is violent, right? But there's a thrill to it. This is kind of energy, and especially with them, this is sexual energy that goes on too. Right. That's why before and after they do the missions, they always like making out and whatnot. Because the youngness, it's like, yeah, fuck yeah, we're taking on the man, right? So I like that they draw on that, right? And I just like how they tap into that sort of like young revolutionary energy as well, right? Like, but that's the thing about the show that and it's a good thing to bring up anti-satire, right? Because I like that the show is like saying, okay, early on, because I'm assuming what we saw in the first like 15 minutes or so is in the 2000s, right? So this is before the Wall Street the Wall Street crash or whatever the term is, right? So it's all these things that they're not stopping to tell you, yes, this happened in the States back then. Yes, 9/11 happened and people were feeling this kind of way when it came to immigrants and blah, 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 and all these kind of things. Or, people who cross the border, that all kind of stuff. This show it at you and expect you, well, they hope now that you will be like, oh yeah, that actually was a thing back in the 2000s, but they wouldn't stop to tell you this is, in other words, they don't tell you what year it is, right? I love that, right? So you're just seeing their relationship as in Leo and Teyana's grow, right? And then eventually devolve the time that they have their daughter, right? So I just love that, that energy sort of dies the moment they realize, hey, we're family now and we should settle. So I like the fact that Leo is like, we should settle, but I totally understand what Tiana's character is coming from, where it's like, you can't just tell me to settle, Jill, like, because as we see, slight spoiler, her family. Well, I should say her mother and well, I think it's either mother or aunt or mother and grandmother. I think are revolutionaries as well, right? And because she black as well, and it's from that whole sort of black power kind of thing, right? You know that that Black Panther kind of energy is like I can't just settle. I can't just settle. I had to keep on going, and that leads to what happens to her, right? So I totally understand in terms of the story why Leo is just like, well, yeah, I done. I just gonna kick back, relax, smoke weed, get fat, and watch movies, right? Speaking of movies,
Right. Well, he kind of become like I said, there's a kind of depression that's certain as well. So that's our take the character.
and especially like how it relates to his relationship with his daughter. There's a moment with her going out to a graduation ball or there's a graduation party, right? It cringe, but at the same time, it's so funny and it fits the character too in terms of this overprotectiveness that he has, right? Also, speaking of movies, I had to spoil this. I would have been the only person clapping in the cinema, but I was like, nah, 'cause if I do that, everybody else gonna be watching me like, what happened to me, boy? When I saw Leo's character watching this movie, fucking masterpiece in my opinion, The Battle of Algiers, which I own on Criterion DVD, which is like the show that kind of defines what it means to be a revolutionary, Dread. I cannot clap at that, but I was like,
I was smoking up because all of that is part of it. Like there's a postmodern angle to the whole thing of they are products of media, and so is media. There's a product of media that is affecting your decision making, but the media is a type of propaganda in of itself that could set you up and make you not solve these problems the way you really should solve it, because it's media is a glorification of the story. So they play with it. Yeah,
they do, and I like very subtly how PTA actually kind of emulates the style of that film, right? Where that film was done in sort of like pseudo documentary style, right? This one is not full documentary style. It's not like cinema verite, right? But it has a lot of handheld moments as well too, a lot of like one takes or whatnot, right? And I was like, all right, yes, PTS, see what you're doing there, right? So point again, that is that he is drawing from, crime films and thriller films. I was picking up on some like 70s political thriller vibes as well too, from the intro alone, just from the first act alone, right? And I just like how it just sort of progresses over the years as well too, and especially how things kind of settle and then things kind of spring up now, where if you didn't know this from the trailer, Leo's daughter gets kidnapped, right? And now he has to go and find her, right? And it's just him having to literally get off of his ass and be like, what to do, like who to talk to, and I like the pairing with him and Benicio del Toro, and just the moment of them together was great, right? But I just love how it all kind of relates to the relationship that he had. I have to stress this had, right, with Teyana's character, right, and how she's worked in his story. I can understand will rub people off the wrong way, especially when it comes to, an interaction that takes place. That moment caught me by surprise to her, but what it led up to, I was like, oh, okay, right?
Yeah.
So I like that the show does the sensational moments as well early on, but it's always mindful to settle down and be like, no, this is gonna be, now you're gonna see the repercussions of that, right? Also, I was picking up on some blaxploitation vibes from it too, some slight exploitation vibes. Yeah, the moment I saw this nunnery and it's just and they have like weaponry too. The moment I saw that, I was like, that is some 70s shit right there, Joe. That is 70s blaxploitation and exploitation worship I'm seeing here, right? So again, PTA just being this film nerd, right? He just pulling from all these inspirations,
That is where like the Boogie Nights stuff is. Like I already know PTA gonna pull from that, like in that way, like because you get with Boogie Nights, the aesthetic, the feel, but then you put it in the real world and what it actually looked like and what it was actually like. It's like, all right, you're playing with it. It's clever stuff.
Yeah. Just moving quickly as a before I get to Marita, right? What really, really, really surprised me is how not just how unconventional the story is, right? But is because of the world that he creates here, right? Because it is the real world, right? In quotes, right? And yet there's this sort of sensationalist vibe to it. Like there's something very, I don't want to say comic book, but there's something fictional in this world, right? And this goes into the ringleaders of it all, right? That swear to God came off like some sort of Illuminati type figure, right? And the mere fact that it's just these old, white men, and yes, they are borderline racist. They are, right? It's like, wow, boy, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what they are. I mean,
That's what they are, right? But the mere fact that it's this clandestine organization, right? And they are the man, right? Because we always like to say, oh, we're sticking it to the man and all that kind of stuff, right? And that's where Teyana Taylor's character, the way how she is framed, it's like, again, that 70s Black Power vibe, right? We're gonna take down the man, but imagine if the man is actually like the Illuminati, this group that is doing things behind the shadows, right? And they do it in such this really clever and bold way that I love those. So yes, there are moments where like, okay, really, you want me to buy into the fact that this thing really is true, like there's really Illuminati in this film? Is like, yeah, there is one, right? But it's not just done for the sake of entertaining the audience. It's just to show that, just to get to the point of the show, at least why I pick from it, right? The revolution isn't done. Like the fight still goes on. It's not something you could just tune out of the moment that you start your family. It keeps on going. I love that. Yeah.
No, the straight up reference Jill Scott Heron, dog. Like it's like,
boy.
Oh, that's a reference.
Yes.
That's a reference.
Yeah,
that's what
it
is.
is.
Like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
cool.
the revolution will not be televised, folks. Literally in this show, right? And I applaud and I applaud the show for this being brave to say, yes, this is a show. You don't have to buy into it, but this is a show. I want to think about it, especially where Leo's character is framed and how he had to deal with it. It's like, yeah, like this shit's still going on and he should be still fighting, but it's like, I don't blame him for, closing up shop. But at the same time, it's like, no, your people still out there fighting, And I like that the show is brave enough to say, yeah, people will die in this world, and it's not like they're gonna spend the rest of their lives taking on the man. They will get killed, or they will retire or set, or whatever it is, right? But yeah, outside of the story, right, which is superbly told and written, in my opinion, right, and just the mere fact that this is a adaptation of this book, right, I'm assuming that it sticks mostly to the source material, but probably modernize things, right? So I thought that he did a great job.
I don't know. I haven't read it. So I've never read it. So
yeah, because the book came out in 1990, right? So imagine what he was, what current matters back then that guy was pulling from, right? But the direction is superb in my opinion. Again, as I say, those chase scenes were just great, right? Very, to quote a YouTuber, very Hitchcockian in terms of how it's set up and whatnot, right? But I wouldn't lie, those moments just grab me, and it's like, dog, PT is doing a freaking action thriller, like, this man doing an action thriller, like, these moments were genuinely tense, like, what going on here, right? Performances, just lastly, performances are great across the board. Leo could get an Oscar nom, Teyana could get an Oscar nom, Benicio could get an Oscar nom, but the one who deserved the Oscar nom more than anybody else, Dread, is Sean Penn, though. He is menacing, he is creepy, he's funny with it at the same time, though. He's a character that you love to hate, but at the same time you watch him, it's like, I can understand in the real world why you are the way you are, Dread, because yeah, he comes off as borderline racist, but slight spoiler, he has a fixation on black women, right? But you can understand why, given his character, why he is the way he is, right? It's just that he takes it to this unbelievably creepy level, but it's just the repercussions of it all. That's all I'll say without spoiling anything that I absolutely love, right? And it results in what happens to him at the very end, right? But at the end of the day, there's a heart hit, there's a message shit, Yeah, just keep on fighting. Like, the fight does not stop. Even though you are old and you can't move on, you know what I mean? At least you have your progeny. At least you can influence other people to keep the fight going for you, right? You don't just stop and kick up your feet and be like, all right, well, other people fighting for me, let me kick back and watch TV. No. Keep on fighting. That's what it is. I just love the fact that we have a movie that is bold enough to say, yeah, keep on fighting. It doesn't mean that you should get guns and go on, or explosive and blow up a place because this movie tells you to do that. No. It's just like, listen, if there's some ideal that you feel needs to be reinforced with every ounce of your being, then keep on doing it. Keep on fighting for what you believe in, right? But just be mindful of life and, circumstances, all these kind of things, right? I love that the show touches on that very well, right? But yeah, as just like you, Ricardo, this is the best film I've seen for the year so far. I think what could top it though is, I forgot to mention this, is Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, which we should be getting in November, courtesy of Netflix, right? Because we're not getting it theatrically, right? Just like High Silhouettes, right? But yeah, I was so glad I saw this theatrically. I came out of it not really thinking to myself that I should have seen it in IMAX. Cause I made a joke when the first trailer come out. It's like, yep, I gotta see a PTA movie in IMAX. But I was like, nah, I watch it on a big screen. That's what matters, right? But when it comes out on digital, I don't mind watching it home and really taking in all the stuff that I missed out on. And, now that I know what the beats are and whatnot, right? And yeah, for all I know, it may be number one for me. But, we have 3 more months again. So for all I know, another banger might come and, win my heart over, right? But yeah, right now, best film of the year thus far. So for me, I'm going to give this a strong 4.5 out of 5. And I'll close this, right? And, you could close things off from here, right? I like that this show is sparking this conversation as what is PTA's best film, right? Because I see some people say this is his best film since Boogie Nights. This is his best film since Magnolia, right? Again, I need to rewatch these films. I would say this is his best film since Phantom Thread, guys. So I think that's like the only PTA movie I've ever seen more than once, right? Like Master, Boogie Nights, There Will Be Blood. I've seen those shows once. I really need to recap them. But like I said earlier on, I just gonna spend like about a month or so just watching over his catalog, and then hopefully when this movie comes out on digital, I can say, yes, this is the best movie since X or Y or Z, right? But I like that this show is sparking this conversation. Like, is this his best work? Because like right now there's a listicle that out. I think it's complex to put it out that still say that There Will Be Blood is his best work, and I think they put this movie here as number 5 or number 6 or something like that, right? Underneath Boogie Nights, believe it or not, right? Okay. But yeah, no, I really do feel the need to rewatch his films, right? Because yeah, I mean, if this show didn't make it clear, he is one of the best directors working in the game right now, and I do hope for people who aren't familiar with his work, right, at least they will give the show a try, right? They might be overwhelmed by how the story progresses and whatnot, but I think, yeah, this is a thoroughly entertaining film from start to end. It's funny, it's witty, it's dark, it's tense, and surprisingly action-packed, though, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I hope that for newbies to his work, that they will go back and check out his other work, and then they could see, yeah, just the impressive catalog this man has carved out, right? I don't think that man put out a flop yet, though. Like, I think, people were iffy about Inherent Vice when it came out, but
yeah,
I'll
never
forget,
like
Complex,
already work.
yeah, believe it or not, Complex put out a best of the 2010s list, and they put Inherent Vice there. I think it was like number 99 or something. So I was like, okay, all right.
No, I have a lot of people that like Inherent Vice. So I understand why they think. But I'm one of those that I can see the problems, and I had issues with.
But yeah, so. Yeah, that just goes to show the body of work that this man has crafted over the past few decades, man. And, here's hoping that we get another film from him. I just hope that we don't have to wait. I think Licorice Pizza came out in 2021, I think it was. This was like during the second year of the lockdown. I think that's when the movie came out. Either then or 2022, I can't remember. Yeah, so, and that was shown theatrically, but that was, I think they showed it here for a week. Believe it or not, swear to God, I think this movie came out after the Oscars, I could be wrong, but I think it came out after the Oscars when it was nominated for a ton of things and it won nothing. I think like they just showed it for a weekend, that was it, and people didn't even know it was out, right? But I remember it was shown theatrically here, right? But yeah, that's pretty much it though. I really do see myself rewatching his catalog, and by year's end, then maybe I could come and say this is his best work since ... right? But yeah, Ricardo, last words. Well, you already gave your rating, right? But in particular, I just wanted to just mention, like, how you think this ranks in his catalog, and do you see yourself like rewatching some of his films? Not all, but some of his films.
Yeah, no, I had no problem rewatching like Phantom Thread, There Will Be Blood, The Master. I actually rewatch a lot rewatching Master because of what it was about and a lot of cool ideas there. But yeah, this I don't know how to rank this, to be honest. In my head, I have it like around 4th. Like, that's how I feel about it. As it is, it's just this is PTA nailing the pinch on novel. That's how I felt about this. Like, it didn't really work with Inherent Vice. I know it have people defend Inherent Vice, but I think it really works here, and that's why it works. As I say, I still have a rating 9 out of 10. But yeah, this is it. This is all you had to do. It comes together. I just thought it came together really well. I really enjoyed my time watching it. So yeah, that's how I feel about it.